My name is Joe. These are just opinions. I am JOEpinionated. Today on the Desert Island Deathmatch, we're dealing with one of the greatest bands of all time, Pink Floyd. And who better to have on? Probably the biggest Pink Floyd fan that I know ever. A musician, so we can actually have some context behind these songs. Guitar playing legend from my hometown in Nanaimo, British Columbia, here on Vancouver Island. Currently in New York City, the lead singer and guitar player from the TRISTONES in New York and around the world, Tristan Clark. Tristan, welcome to the Desert Island Deathmatch. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I think I need to hire you to give me intros all the time. That was one heck of an intro. Pleased to be here, Joe, and excited to talk about Pink Floyd. About myself, well, I've been playing guitar for 30 plus years now. It's getting to that point where it's hard to count. Working musician since I was in high school, pretty much. And Pink Floyd's been one of my favorite bands since I believe it was in grade 6 when I got the chance to see Pink Floyd. My parents took me in 1994. I think I'm part of like a small elite club of 40-year-olds that has actually seen Pink Floyd. I feel like I can lump myself in with people that that still refer to the band as the Pink Floyd. You ever talk to those people there? You ever talk to someone that's like, I remember the Pink Floyd because they used to be called the Pink Floyd?
Post into the chat, Tristan, the set list from that Pink Floyd show that you watched in 1994 in Vancouver. It was
crazy.
Yeah, so that set list is in there. It's really cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I'm trying to guess what the opener is. I think it was Astronomy Domine. Was it the first tune?
I think it was. Yes, it was.
Woo!
It was 94. It was June the 25th of 1994 in Vancouver. That show will come in. I'll talk a bit about that as well. The truth of the matter is that I was supposed to go to that show as well, and my mom shut it down last minute, unfortunately. And so I had a sleepover at my house with two of our mutual friends. And it was going to be the greatest sleepover ever. We're going to have all kinds of fun and forget about this Pink Floyd concert. And it was crazy. But at the end, we watched a movie, and then for some reason we switched on the television. We were in that old fifth wheel beside my parents' house, and put the television on, and the nightly news came on, and it was instantly Pink Floyd, show of the century or show of the decade or whatever. And then just like Pink Floyd just leaves everybody stunned. And I remember they showed the stage, and I can still remember the looks like we were just dumbfounded and just like, holy shit, that looks awesome. We're going to get into the Desert Island Deathmatch, and at the end of the episode, first we're going to give our Desert Island playlist for Pink Floyd. 20 songs. It's tough. They're not in order, and that's another thing, Tris. Don't put them in order from 1 to 20. It's hard. It's so hard to put a song above another.
I might even have over 20 on my list, but
okay. And then the other thing too is that if there's a song such as "Another Brick in the Wall" or "Shine on You Crazy Diamond," that's just one song. So we're going to go through our top 20 playlists for the Desert Island playlist for each of us, and then at the end, we're going to have to go to the same Desert Island and compromise a little bit and sabotage a little bit as well. And so I'm going to start it off first. I go first in this one. When we get to the Desert Island Deathmatch, Tristan, the guest, Tristan is going to go first and wipe out one of my songs first. All right, so we're going to start off. So we're just going to list off the Pink Floyd studio albums in order from their debut LP album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn from 1967, Pink Floyd's debut album featuring psychedelic and whimsical themes. It's known for its association with founding member Syd Barrett.
So I got 2 copies here. So we can kind of see there, what's the first track on there?
Oh, really? Sweet. See Emily play.
Yeah. So it's the first track is See Emily Play, and this was the original U.S. release. So when it was released in the U.S., they thought that, because if you look at, here's a reissue of, Piper, and it's got Astronomy, Domine on the first track there, right? So they took off Astronomy, Domine for when they released it in the U.S. Because they thought it was just too weird and crazy, and they thought See Emily Play was more of like a, because it was like, sounded like Sgt. Pepper's or something like that, right? So, and I think this album was like, they were recording like in the same, it might have been in Abbey Road, like right at the same time that they were, or right after Sgt. Pepper's, or right during like that studio time or something like that. So I think that Sgt. Pepper's has a pretty big influence on this record. So I thought that was pretty cool when I found this copy of the U.S. version, and it sounds amazing. It actually sounds. This is the reissue. This one sounds pretty good, but this like original U.S. pressing actually sounds pretty dope. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Next album after that was The Saucerful of Secrets. This one went from Syd Barrett's whimsical sound more into like an experimental sound, and also featured the replacement for Syd Barrett, Dave Gilmour.
Saucerful of Secrets, the only one with Gilmour and Barrett on it, that they did a record together. So, which is pretty cool. Yeah, there's some amazing tunes on this. Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. That's probably the one that was played the most off this record. I love the intro. Let there more be light, or let there be more light. That tune, just that bass intro. It's like, sounds like Block Rock and Beats. I wonder if that's sampled for Block Rock and Beats. It's kind of, they're pretty similar.
Next up, in 1969, Pink Floyd did a soundtrack album. I believe it was a French film called More. Was it French? A French film called More. And it's a soundtrack album, so it does have some instrumentals mixed with some songs. Some of it sounds like straight up, they're watching the show and playing along with it almost.
Yeah. But there's a few like rockin' tracks on here for sure. Thing is, like, the only thing about this record is like I can listen to it, but when I look at the names of the songs, I'm like, I can't remember which songs. But
I'm exactly the same, man. I know that I like a few songs and I know what they are, but at the same time, like, yeah, I couldn't tell you which one is which.
Yeah, this one was always a hard one to find, so I was glad that they reissued it.
And then in 1969, the same year as the soundtrack, they released Ummagumma. Yeah, Ummagumma. It was a double album, or triple double LP. And the thing with Ummagumma was that there's a live side where they play 4 tracks, and those are killer, the live performances from the early days. And then the second side, or the other parts, are from the 4 members individually, and they all submit like 4 songs each. Or if I was gonna rank the records, that's the last one I would buy personally. But what are your thoughts, Tris? What do you got there for the LP?
I'm sort of with you on that one. I do love the album art though. It's like one of the coolest covers. How it just like, if you like, how it just keeps on going on and on, and like if you've read much about Storm Thorgerson, the guy who did all the album art, like everything that he did was like sort of big and expensive. Like, it's what you see is there's no faking anything on here. Even just like that. I mean, that looks awesome. How they set up all their stuff on the road there. Yeah,
Storm was old friends with Dave Gilmour, right? I'm pretty sure they grew up together, or they were friends as teenagers. And yeah, he's the one that designed this.
I think there's a documentary about him.
I think he did every album cover after the first one, but he also did Ween the Mollusk. So each member did their own thing, and something like a theme with Pink Floyd is that when they're actually working together, it's unbelievable. They're the greatest band in the world. But when they're not, and when they're doing stuff like that, it leaves something to be desired for sure. Next album was their second soundtrack album, Atom Heart Mother from 1970. The title track is 23 minutes long, Atom Heart Mother. And this is, showing some serious signs of really coming together, especially on the track, Atom Heart Mother.
I love this record. A lot of people kind of slam this one as not really having much for like hits or anything like that. But yeah, the whole title track, Atom Heart Mother, I don't know. It's the whole thing is just crazy, but the whole orchestra and stuff like that, like they haven't really done anything like that since. But Fat Old Son, that sounds amazing.
From 1971, I've got it opened up beside me here. Is Meddle, and this is, Atom Heart Mother and then Meddle. To me, this is when they really obviously hit their stride and finally come together on an album.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. Especially on Meddle, like Meddle, like is like I still put it on all the time to listen to it. Like just how it starts off with one of these days, and that's been like one of my favorite tunes.
Next up after that is their third soundtrack album, Obscured by Clouds. And it's another soundtrack for a French movie as well, La Vallée. The Valley, I guess that's what that means. It also has some instrumentals, but
the instrumentals are cool though.
Yeah, way stronger than the instrumentals.
Like the title track, Obscured by Clouds, and then it goes into When You're In, like down, 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 down. Like it's just a badass riff. And then, Childhood's End. That's a great tune.
In 1973, the band finally came together, did a full-on concept album. One of their most iconic albums. It explores the themes of life, death, and the human experience. It's one of the biggest albums of all time. The Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, so I got a few copies here. So this here's the Grail copy.
So what is that? Explain what that is, Tris.
Yeah, so this is the mobile fidelity, which is like a audiophile label that puts out. They do half-speed mastering of records, which is they master the record and they cut the record at half the speed, so that the lathe gives it more time to etch more data into the record, so you get more high end and more low end, just more frequencies in the album. So it's a really good sounding copy of it. And those who know, I got another original. This is my cousin's old copy given to Lennon. So this is actually Lennon's.
That is such a great album.
Yeah. Oh man, this is what a cool way to hear this album is them touring this when it first came out. Like it's so much more aggressive sounding.
Please, Pink. Please, David Gilmour, just do this for every single album right now. Please, God.
Yeah, the new one that just came out. It's the Dark Side of the Moon Redux.
So that's the Roger Waters copy that came out, I think, this month.
It's cool, man. It's definitely a really darker version of the record, but sonically it sounds amazing. It's very, very well recorded.
Up next, 1975, an album dedicated to former bandmate Syd Barrett, and an exploration of the themes like absence and disillusionment. Classic album, Wish You Were Here.
Wish You Were Here. Yeah, this has still in the black shrink wrap here. Another amazing photos done by Storm Thorgerson. Like this is supposed to be like a guy getting burned from a deal, And like no mistake, like this is like a dude that's actually on fire.
Is it actually?
Yeah, yeah. He's like a stunt guy, and they put him in like a fireproof suit. And so, but they like if you kind of look, like his hair is like got this like kind of gel on it or something like that, or they got something like or something to make it look like hair, but it's not real hair or something. I don't know, but it's actually a dude that's on fire. And then like this picture there,
Yeah, the leg it's coming out of the lake.
yeah, and then they had the guy, the guy had like a snorkel and just like standing there for like, an hour or something like that while Storm got the perfect picture or something like that. Like it's crazy.
Definitely the best album artwork is on Wish You Were Here. I mean, it's some of the best anyways. It's all great
Yeah.
the whole way through. Yeah, that. Just, even the stuff that doesn't make the album itself, there's books of it and all this, all the different. The guy swimming in the sand is always one of my favorite ones too. Yeah, that image right there. The next album after that one was Animals from 1977, inspired by George Orwell's Animal Farm. It classifies people into different animals based on their behavior. Incredibly political album, maybe David Gilmour's best.
Yeah, so this album is, it's definitely more of an aggressive sounding Pink Floyd record. Definitely get some kind of like almost like fusion influences going in there. When I first heard this record, as you know, I had a thing with this record. I couldn't go too long without it when I was in high school. I was there's the story that when I was on a band trip or something like that, and I had my Walkman with me, but I didn't realize I didn't have a copy of Animals for like 4 days, so I had to like search and buy a copy of Animals. So I had like the CD version and a tape version, and now I got the vinyl, and I also got the remix vinyl, which is definitely worth checking out too.
That was a 2018.
Yeah.
It was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, 2018 remix, but it just came out. It came out last year, I think. Yeah, but the remix is really really cool. It's like all of a sudden you can hear like the bass is just like dominating on it. It's so good.
Did Roger have anything to do with the remix, or do you know who did it?
I think they approved it. I know there was that whole thing about the liner notes that happened.
Right.
Like they had some liner notes that came out with it, and that Roger wrote, because it's basically about him basically writing the record.
Somebody else has final say on that?
Yeah, and David Gilmour, apparently he was just like, we want to leave it a mystery.
In 1979, and this is kind of the last album that there were contributions from everyone, because during the course of this album, I think that's when Richard Wright got let go. Mm-hmm. Or did he walk off?
He got let go.
He got let go. And anyways, it's a rock opera. It tells the story of a guy named Pink. And it's a character inspired by Roger Waters. Explores themes of isolation, war, and disillusionment. And there's an incredible movie directed by Alan Parker that came out afterwards.
This is like a reissue copy that came out. It would have been probably like 2008 or something like that, or 2009.
The next one is solely Roger Waters' baby. It basically led to the breakup of the band altogether. Nick Mason, I think, exited during this album, and it led really to the Roger Waters ultimately ended up leaving later. These are leftover songs from The Wall, and the album is called The Final Cut.
I like this record. A lot of people hate this record. My dad was a big hater on this record. I tried to told him that I like it. He's like, I knew you would say something like that. But once again, I haven't. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, there's some nice tunes on here. It's definitely like there's nothing like I've I've sort of walked away with, like, that has been, I've really been singing in my head too much, but all in all, it is
Another brick in the wall.
yeah. It is an album. You know what I mean? Like, you can, like, you get, like, it's a good thing to sit down and listen to straight through. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about like the lack of drums and the way that sounds?
Well, that doesn't bother me. I really like the like the stuff with like the footsteps and stuff, and like just like the real kind of 3D effect of the recording. I think it's really good.
And next up was the band reimagined. Roger Waters is now no longer in the group, and David Gilmour has the name Pink Floyd. He invites back his old buddies, Nick Mason and Richard Wright, but this is primarily a David Gilmour album from 1987. 1987, this is Dave Gilmour's baby. The album is A Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Yep, Momentary Lapse of Reason. Here's I think this is a reissue one copy that I have. Yeah, the 2016 reissue copy, and then also I got the updated one, which is way worth checking out. They did a good job of, just making it sound a little less 80s kind of thin that this one sounds. I mean, it still sounds really good, but this one everything sounds warmer. Nick Mason actually played the drums on this one, which I don't think he played the drums on this one. Like, so he went and re-recorded he re-recorded like some stuff on this one to make it more of a Pink Floyd record, and I think they brought some more Rick's keyboard parts in there or something maybe. But yeah, no, the tunes are amazing. Learning to Fly is a big one. On the Turning the Way, Sorrow. Produced by Patrick Leonard.
And who's that?
He did like Madonna.
Okay, next up from 1994, the album and the tour that Tristan first saw Pink Floyd at, that actually saw Pink Floyd. In 1994, basically their final album together as a unit, and as David Gilmour, Nick Mason, and Richard Wright. The album is The Division Bell. Incredible artwork.
Yep.
Again,
yeah, and these things are real. Like, they, whatever these statues are, like they made these for the album cover. Yeah.
For me, The Division Bell is a step up a big step up, honestly, from Momentary Lapse of Reason. And lyrically, so once Roger was not in the picture, because Roger was the force behind most of the great lyrics, David Gilmour was writing with his wife primarily after that, as far as the lyrics go.
Holly Samson,
and she is an author, right?
Yeah.
And so, but this album's just so great. The lyrics throughout and the sign off as well. The message to Roger at the end of the album cuts super deep. Now these guys are at each other's throats forever. It's one of the biggest feuds in music history. Really, it's the biggest in my life as far as importance goes. They have been civil many times throughout the years, and incredibly got back together for a show for Live Aid for charity.
Yeah.
They've a few shows, a few performances, but one in particular where the four members all got together for, was it Live Aid or Farm Aid? Or Band Aid?
Live Aid.
In 2005.
Yeah.
In July, I'm pretty sure. I know this because I didn't know it was happening. And I happened to be in Hong Kong. It was my first day in Hong Kong. And I was in Chungking Mansion in Kowloon, which is a crazy building, major history there. Check it out. This place is so humongous, like you could hide a dead body in the middle of this building and nobody would find it for years. Went into our very, very tiny hotel room, and it was the smallest hotel room I've ever had, where the shower's right over top of the toilet and stuff. Anyways, it was a long day, and I turned on the TV, and just starting up on the TV, no shit, was Pink Floyd reuniting for 4 songs, 4 of their biggest hits. And I had tears in my eyes. I could not believe it. It was just I was just floored and couldn't believe it. Yeah, definitely tears the whole way through. I couldn't believe it. And I thought I didn't know what was going on. I was away for a while, and I was like, holy shit, are these guys like doing this? But there's definitely some body language going on that they weren't doing it.
Yeah.
But it was incredible. Their last studio album came from 2014, and this is sort of the collection of songs that didn't come together. This is sort of the final cut, but for Pink Floyd as a whole, rather than the album on the wall. This has some recordings now. Richard Wright had passed away. Was he already gone at this point, Trist?
Yes.
So Richard Wright, the keyboard or piano player, synth god, passed away, unfortunately. And they released this kind of in his honor, honestly. Him and Nick Mason got back and worked on this album, and even him and Molly had written some lyrics for a track as well, but it's instrumental except for one track. It's just it's beautiful. They're showing off, David Gilmour has his sound down, and
I really like the record. I think it's like, but it's not one of those things where you can just put on and listen to one song. It's like, it's a full suite of music.
Okay, let's get into this. We're going to build our Desert Island playlist, mention a little bit about each song along the way. We're picking 20 songs we're bringing to our Desert Island. This is going to be the Desert Island playlist. This is the 20 songs that I would bring with myself to a Desert Island. Tristan's going to bring his 20 songs that he would want to have on the Desert Island from Pink Floyd. This is easy for us. It's a lot harder to cut out so many songs. And then at the end, we'll get into the Desert Island Deathmatch. Remember to vote on your favorite in the comments below. Also, when we mention performances and different stuff, I'll be a bunch of links in the description below that you can check out all those videos that we're discussing throughout the way. Also, like and subscribe. But yeah, in the description below, it'll have our playlist. Vote for your favorite in a comment, either Tristan's, myself's, or the finale list. Which one you think is the best, or if you think we're totally that too, it's all good. These are just opinions, and the first song I'm bringing with me to my Desert Island on my Desert Island playlist is from 1967. That's their debut album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. I'm going with the opening track on some versions, apparently, of this LP, Astronomy Domine. Astronomy Domine. Lime and lipid green, a second scene, a fight between the blue you once knew. Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Now this is Syd Barrett. Syd Barrett, basically the founding member of Pink Floyd, or the main guy who started it off, this very charismatic guy, a one-off, a total character in the history of music, especially psychedelic, especially art music.
Astronomy Domine, the first one. Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, honestly, I've never really checked out any of the lyrics to the songs for the song. Just like I can just kind of. I just kind of hum along with it. That's my sort of guitar player musician attitude. But I really I love the guitar playing. Like just that weird sort of tritone. And then whatever that part is, like this descending major chord thing, it's amazing.
So far, that song, because it's been chosen by both of us, that actually automatically goes onto the Desert Island playlist. It's where we don't have the same song. So yeah, so we get Right on, man. And this is, I mean, Tristan and I are very close, and we're going to have a lot of the same songs, I think. So, yeah, so not a big shocker there. And we're going to be enjoying life on this desert island where we don't got to do any fucking chores. We got to do nothing but listen to the same 20 Pink Floyd songs. Next song, we're going all the way to 1971, Meddle, and the song is Echoes. Now, the first thing I think of with this song is Tristan's dad, and one of the most important people in my life, first and foremost, but also the biggest influence to obviously Tristan and myself when it came to music. Dan would play this song at Halloween every year, and that was one of my introductions to Pink Floyd. It was definitely my introduction to Echoes and Meddle, was Your House. And this is a song actually that's grown on me more and more through the years. There's the Live in Pompeii performance, which is just insane. It's so good. I recently actually sold that DVD. Because Echoes it's like 30 minutes long, something like that. Overhead, the albatross hangs motionless upon the air, and deep beneath the rolling waves and labyrinths of coral caves. Sick lyrics for sure, but this is really the point where the band comes together as Meddle. And this song in particular is the first time, really, in my opinion, of Pink Floyd where all four members are just coming together at the same time and actually as a unit, and it's so funky. The standout to me in this song is Roger Waters, and which is I just love the bass in this song. Yeah, when I get in the funky section in the middle there, that's where the stereo test comes in for me. So next on my Desert Island playlist, I'm going with Echoes.
Yeah, so I also picked Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun.
Well, you don't have to be so fucking disappointed about it. It's your desert island, so.
Just because, I mean, that's one of the songs that they still kept, or at least Roger Waters still kept playing live, and it has that gong in it, right? So.
Next up on my Desert Island playlist, this one's coming for sure, is also off of 1971's Meddle. I'm going with the track Fearless. You say the hill's too steep to climb, try and you'll find it's not so high. And if you give, don't be afraid, you try, just where you were. So this is actually co-written by Roger Waters and David Gilmour, so a next level Pink Floyd fan song where you just kind of, you hear all the main stuff, and then you kind of dig a little bit deeper, and then you start pulling these gems out of the other albums as well, not just like the mid '70s stuff. And this was like sort of when I finally bought Meddle and listened to it for the first time. This was the standout to me at that time.
Next up for me, I'm going to jump into Meddle too, and One of These Days is a big tune for me. I remember seeing them do that live and just being absolutely just the light. I remember the lights just being crazy, and they brought out the pigs. If you watch Pulse, there's like the two pigs that came on the side. And I remember seeing, they don't show it on the video, but I remember being a kid and I've watched when the pigs came out. They weren't the floating pigs because they lost the floating pigs in the lawsuit or something like that. And so some kind of copyright thing or something. But anyways, they had the two pigs. I remember they dropped and they kind of like sort of came on the crowd and the audience and they pulled them back, right? It's the only time Nick Mason sang on a record. He did that. One of these days, I'm going to cut you into little pieces, whatever. And then what was it? And then just the corner of. But you need that effect on there, that delay effect, because if I turn it off, it's just. Get the effect. It's so cool. And back then, I have a delay pedal here, and if I need a tempo, I can just tap the tempo, right? but they just like you had to like sort of slowly dial it in, and like all of a sudden if the band goes off, everyone's got to stick to that. It's almost like you have like a click track on your pedal board or something like that, right? It's pretty cool. And then plus the lap steel solo in the tune that David Gilmour does is it's insane, so good.
Okay, next up on my list from 1971, again from Meddle, I'm going with the track Tristan just said on his playlist. And once again, this one's making the Desert Island Deathmatch finale, One of These Days. Now, one of these days, I'm going to cut you into little pieces, and the only lyrics from the entire song. Finally, one I've got memorized. Finally, one short enough my dad could even memorize the words to it. It's a powerful instrumental track. Tristan already mentioned it. Slide guitar, the bass. It's a Pink Floyd standard. One of these days, 1971.
Next on my list is Echoes. I mean, I don't have much more to say other than what you already said. It's it's an epic piece of music. It's kind of like the sort of precursor to some big epic tunes that come after that. I remember the same thing we talked about live at Pompeii. It's like what a badass version is that one is the Pompeii version. I was lucky enough to see Nick Mason play that tune at his last tour. He did like an Echoes tour.
On my Desert Island playlist for Pink Floyd, one of the greatest bands of all time, I'm going to jump a little forward in time here to 1979, the final album with the 4 members that were really the guts of the band for most of Pink Floyd, From the Wall. First song from The Wall on my Desert Island playlist, I'm going with Young Lust. Oh, I need a dirty woman. Oh, I need a dirty girl. Yeah, Young Lust, it's gritty, it's energetic. Yeah, it's reflecting some of the characters' central themes. If you've ever watched The Wall, an incredible movie. Honestly, one of my favorite movies ever is actually The Wall. I love it. It's super depressing. Yeah, so this is actually co-written. This song is co-written by David and Roger.
I put Obscured by Clouds and When You're In, the second track, as one track because I can't not listen to those 2 tracks together because they're another big sort of instrumental awesomeness. The riff that it goes into, it's like it was the first sort of recording of like an electric drum machine too that they ever did. I think or even ever, like how the track starts with it has that kind of like sort of weird kind of galloping drum thing. Like that's like a early version of an electric drum because that would have been 1971 or 72, right? So.
Next up on my Desert Island, we're going to be listening to some depressing shit from The Wall. Super depressing, but I've got to have it because it's a song that I probably sing at least once a week anyways, just walking around the house. The track is Nobody's Home. I've got my little black book with my poems in, got a bag with my toothbrush and a comb in, and when I'm a good dog, they sometimes throw me the bone in. I love the lyrics. The music is great, the synth is great and all that, but I love the lyrics, and this is like one of the ultimate sort of Roger Waters talking his way through a song.
Well, I was as you picked that tune, I was just thinking like, well, you're a big Tom Waits fan, and I could totally see like a Tom Waits version of that song.
100%.
I got a little black book of homes.
So you just did Obscured by Clouds.
Yeah, and Childhood's End. I like when I first heard Obscured by Clouds. I went to it, later. I checked it out. I think the first time I heard it was I was still in high school. I remember like some friends of our family had it on CD, and I remember like having like my Discman and just taking it and listening to it, and just thinking I just thought the whole record it was just so different from what I was because I was going through this big Pink Floyd craze, and all of a sudden I heard this like Obscured by Clouds is like such a it really is for me. It was like a different sounding record. Like it almost had like kind of a roots rock. Some of the tracks almost sounded like it could have been the band or Little Feat or something like that. Like it had like a more of like kind of a folky rootsiness to it, but still Pink Floyd, obviously. And that was one of the tunes that really stuck out to me.
It's probably their most diverse record. I mean, where they definitely jump into some different directions that they never really went again and never really went before. Next up on My Desert Island, we're going to be listening to some more stuff from The Wall. Next track I've got on mine is The Thin Ice. You can go skating. Anyways, this song is just kind of, this one, The Thin Ice, Baby Blue is what I thought it was called growing up, right? And just the way it opens, the sound. I mean, The Wall is an album that over my time with Pink Floyd anyways, I fell in love with it first. It was probably the first Pink Floyd I ever heard after Tristan, after you went and watched Pink Floyd, or maybe it was even before that. But I remember one of the first songs I ever tried to play on the guitar was Mother. And so I probably picked this album up looking for another brick in the wall. And out of my brother's collection there, this is one of the ones my brother had. And the whole first side of The Wall, the first disc especially, I knew every song really well. And this is just one of my favorites off it. I want a song like this on mine. And there's so many almost similar songs or, great songs as well from The Wall. So it's kind of hard to choose. I landed on The Thin Ice.
Getting into Dark Side of the Moon. Breathe. The opening track of Dark Side of the Moon. It's amazing. My favorite part, the lyrics are great. I love the chord changes. Like I remember when I first learned those chords, like it's just like. Like it's so cool. Like this is a really cool chord right here. That the last chord, and this is a D7 sharp 9 to a D7 flat 9. If that makes sense to you. And I remember seeing there's like that VH1 making of Dark Side of the Moon or whatever it is, and I remember Rick Wright.
Classic albums.
Yeah, classic albums, whatever it is. Yeah, and. I remember seeing the interview with Rick Wright talking about, he like learned this chord. I think he learned it from like Miles Davis. He was like listening to Kinda Blue, like because it was the song All Blues. He was like. He was learning those sharp 9 chords, right? So I know that he got that chord progression from Miles Davis, which I thought was pretty cool. But but even like the start of it, just like the C major 7, and then this weird F chord.
But yeah, Breathe, written by Dave Gilmour, Richard Wright, and Roger Waters. Okay, so next up on my Desert Island playlist, I'm going with, off of 1975, the album is Wish You Were Here. It's the opening and closing track, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Remember when you were young, you shone like the sun. This is a tribute album to Syd Barrett, and the song is one in particular about Syd Barrett. And so Syd either took too much acid or was schizophrenic or a combination of both, depending on who you ask. And basically he, went out of his mind. He David Gilmour actually tells a really good story about it where, it's heartbreaking and it's not a good story, but he had gone away. He was hanging with Pink Floyd in the early days, and he went away somewhere to school or something like that, came back to town, and he had seen Syd just a few weeks prior, and then when he saw Syd, he had totally changed. Anyways, I'll save you the studio story, but this song as well is, when you had lent me the Pulse album, this is, I think it was the first song. It was either the first or second song on the album. And I had never heard Shine On You Crazy Diamond before that. And for a long time, I would call it my favorite song. Maybe it still is. But as good as it gets when it comes to Pink Floyd songwriting, everything. It's really long. There's 2 parts on the album. It's, it's broken up into like basically a 20-minute song, but into 10-minute sections. And it's just incredible. They play the same note for the first 5 minutes on the synths. There's so many things about this song that nobody can really pull off, but I've never once played this song for somebody and I'm not listened to the entire thing, and just, it's universal. This is definitely on my island.
I am still on Dark Side of the Moon, and I am at Us and Them. And Us and Them is a big tune for me. I think it's just one of their ultimate tracks of all time, and especially hearing it live. I got to that moment when we saw them when we saw David Gilmour at Madison Square Garden. When he played Us and Them, it just has this powerfulness to it. When it gets to the chorus, the lyrics are great. For what's the price of a tea and a slice, right? But I once again, being as the musician, just the chords are really cool. Got this drone thing going over D, right? So it's really neat, pretty. I started incorporating that tune in my set list when I play live too. It's a fun one to play.
Up next on my Desert Island playlist, I have from 1975, Wish You Were Here. The song is Have a Cigar. Or Come In Here, Dear Boy, have a cigar, you're going to go far. Fly high, you're never going to die. You're going to make it if you try. They're going to love you. And by the way, which one's Pink? Have a Cigar also has a guest singer. What's his name? Roy Harper. The guitars sound so good on this track in particular and the whole album. I wish Welcome to the Machine as well.
So great gig in the sky. Ultimate instrumental track. Once again, the chords in the song. I just love the whole chord sequence of it. What does it do there? It's like, I think it's in B minor. It's just a cool little thing that sort of travels along, which I thought was really cool. And then there's a whole, the vocal track that I think I can't remember what the singer's name is, but she did it in like one take or something like that. And then she was like crying, saying that she was sorry for messing it up, and they're like, that was really good. and then she ended up like suing the band because the album became huge because she just got paid whatever the session fee was for it, and then she's like, well, I kind of wrote the melody to the song because I'm the only melody on it.
Clare Torry.
Yeah. And then so she gets big royalties on that one. I was talking about this, record with some students of mine. There's like this kind of common theme through Dark Side of the Moon where it has like this sort of minor 7 to a dominant chord where it has like this. There's that chord you can breathe in the air. Different key. And then there's even what's it? Any color you like. Yeah, they kind of like really milk that sort of that progression throughout the.
Next on my Desert Island playlist, this one's definitely coming with me. It's already been mentioned. It's going to make the final list. Obscured by Clouds, the opening track, Obscured by Clouds. Thank you, Tristan, for showing me this album. The same thing, the opening few tracks all kind of go together, so count them as one. What's been brought up in another episode of this as well is that I met this guy that paid to use a sample of this song, Obscured by Clouds, in his Oscar-nominated short film titled Pear Cider and Cigarettes. The director's name was Robert Valley. He also directed the Metallica video for the song that features Lemmy in the music video. I can't remember it. Check out my JOEpinionated list on Metallica where I discussed that as well. But anyways, the guy's super talented. He's from Vancouver, British Columbia, just across the water from us. But yeah, he got this song, and securing this song for his show was a whole other story into itself, but really cool.
I'm going to go to, Wish You Were Here. And I'm going to start off with Shining Your Crazy Diamond. Shining Your Crazy Diamond is, I think that was, I first really got into that tune. I think I said before, I don't like Greatest Hits record, but I did end up buying the CD of a collection of great dance songs. Pink Floyd's collection of.
Is that on there?
Yeah, but it's like the radio edit version of it, so it's a little shorter. They take out a guitar solo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah. So they take out there's like that second guitar solo. They don't ever, whenever you hear like a live version, they never play that guitar solo, right? And I remember even like trying to figure it out the song on guitar, and I originally learned the opening lick like. Which is not it at all. Like it doesn't. That sounds kind of weird, right? Because I would just like, I like Pink Floyd. I go, yeah, that's it. But then someone else should be like, no, you got to play it like this. You got to use the open strings where it was like, and then I was like, whoa, that is the coolest sounding thing. I can do this one in my sleep. Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Next up on my Desert Island playlist comes off of 1973's Dark Side of the Moon. It's the opening track, and it makes the final playlist. It's Breathe in the Air. Breathe in the air, don't be afraid to care. Leave, but don't leave me. Look around, choose your own ground. I've watched Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon with Wizard of Oz a lot of times. I love that. I love that together. I obviously love seeing him play it live. I also picked up that live on their original Dark Side of the Moon album that came out last year, or maybe this year or whatever, and that is so fucking good. Make sure you get that. Really good pressing, and it just, every part of it sounds amazing.
I'm gonna go to Wish You Were Here. Wish You Were Here was like, that's the first tune that really made me fall in love with that record. Also, it was the first guitar solo I think I ever learned. Like note for note, like just the whole intro part, like. Yeah, so that was definitely a big tune for me, and I love the fact that this tune, it has kind of a country sort of vibe to it, which I think kind of which Pink Floyd sort of brings in once in a while. It gives it sort of a, because I know like Roger Waters he's a huge Neil Young fan.
Yeah, Neil Young, John Prine, and John Lennon.
It's like this tune could definitely fall in the category of those guys.
So next up on my Desert Island playlist also comes off of 1973's Dark Side of the Moon, and the song is Time. Tired of lying in the sunshine, staying home to watch the rain. You are young and life is long, and there is time to kill today. Then one day you'll find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun.
Yeah. That's a great line.
That line is ridiculous, number one. I've thought about that so many times at work and stuff like that. You're just like, oh, God, so-and-so got a new car or something like that. Like, I can barely pay the cable bill. And that song, 10 years, then one day you find 10 years have got behind you. I remember being like 18, 19 and being like, yeah, those 10 years really got behind. Like, it's so powerful that it can just kind of like number one, this album is meant to be consumed by the whole thing at once. It's I don't think there's a better concept album ever. I mean, it's close. It's maybe another Pink Floyd album, but anyways, Time is insane. The way it opens up with the clocks ticking. I always think of Back to the Future, and then the alarm going off, and. Just insane lyrics, production quality, huge drums, everybody involved. Time has credits to every member of the band. Yeah. The lyrics at the time, Roger Waters was smoking hash and writing the best lyrics of his life. Yeah. Why not go on with the hash then, Roger, for fuck's sakes? It's like, it was, I was never really into drugs. I was smoking a lot of hash when I was writing my best fucking songs. Anyways. You do whatever. Roger Waters owes me fucking absolutely nothing ever. He's an absolute hero of mine. And anyways, this song Time is top of the fucking mountain for me. It's maybe my favorite Pink Floyd song.
Have a Cigar for me. Yeah. Still wish you were here. Have a Cigar is just a gritty, dirty, funky Pink Floyd tune. We already talked about, Roy Harper and, the music industry. But just that. just a cool chord progression. Fun, like I'm actually getting the. I just sort of permanently have the kind of the have a cigar guitar tone on my guitar right now. Has that kind of unify.
I remember when you got some sort of, maybe it was that pedal right there, or I remember you playing that for me. Just like, what does this effect remind you of? And you just started playing something else or whatever. Like, have a cigar, man. No doubt. It sounded so good, yeah. Next on my Desert Island playlist, I am going with another track from Dark Side of the Moon. I'm going with Any Color You Like. Songwriting credits go to David Gilmour, Nick Mason, and Rick Wright on this one. But it's the synths for Richard Wright on, I mean, all the albums, but through this song, and I'm so happy that I got to see Roger Waters do it live. And I took my son to see Roger Waters with me, specifically as something I would have promised myself when I was a kid I would do after I wasn't allowed to go to Roger Waters or to Pink Floyd at the same age. And then you had one of your friends was playing with Roger on sax as well. What was his name? Sorry.
Oh yeah, Seamus Blake.
And everybody around us kept talking about how amazing Seamus was. So shout out to that.
And he was amazing.
And at the bus stop the next day. I'm not kidding. It was like a hand on the Bible sort of thing.
Yeah,
but,
amazing.
Yes.
That,
anyways, they played Any Color You Like. They played the second half of Dark Side of the Moon. This was on there, and I was so happy.
I'm on to Animals. Start with Dog. I love this one. It's definitely the most like epic and aggressive Pink Floyd tune out there. You know, like the whole Orwell concept on the record. I just love the darkness of it that they get, and just right at starting out the back, you get like that sort of. Yeah, it's just really weird, really weird sort of good, and the guitars are actually tuned down a whole step from that, so it even sounds kind of lower and deeper, right? So, I was a big fan of that acoustic guitar part off the top. All the guitar parts that David Gilmour put on there, like there's like dual leads and stuff, and every little keyboard part, that it's just a whole journey, that song. I love it. I think that's the longest track on the record too, right?
Yeah, 20 minutes. And it kind of led to the first big, apparently it led to the first big dispute between Roger and David, and it was about including this song on Wish You Were Here, and David wanted it on Wish You Were Here, and Roger said, no, it doesn't fit the theme of the album, and Roger was right. Next up on my Desert Island playlist, I have the song Eclipse from Dark Side of the Moon. Amazing lyrics, reminds me of John Lennon's song, God. I don't believe in Beatles, I just believe in me. And Roger Waters was a huge fan of the Plastic Ono Band, John Lennon's first album, which is my favorite John Lennon album. And I get it. And this one's all about the lyrics. I mean, I've seen people get the lyrics tattooed on them in the shape of the pyramid, and I always thought that was badass. If I was gonna get lyrics tattooed on me, they'd probably be big Pink Floyd lyrics. And there's a lot of great lines from this one, and and it closes out maybe the greatest album ever. So I'm going with Eclipse.
All right, I'm gonna go with Sheep. Still in Animals there. Sheep was another tune that was on the collection of great dance songs. And it was And and that was my first introduction to animals because I never even heard animals until I heard this collection of great dance songs, and Sheep was on there, and I remember just hearing this Fender Rhodes start out. It's like very, very kind of like moody, almost like pretty jazzy sounding off the top for Pink Floyd, and I was like starting to get into jazz at that point. I was like, oh, this is cool. Where is this going to go from here? And then it goes into like it's got this, like you could like it sounds like One of These Days when it kicks in, with that same kind of same type of shuffle beat. Yeah, and I remember getting really into drumming at that point, and I was playing a lot of drums to this tune, so I think I probably know the song better on drums than I do guitar.
Next up, for me, we're at the 16th song on our Desert Island playlist. I'm going from the album Animals. Credit to Tristan for showing me the album. The song is Pigs, 3 different ones. That's the big man, pig man, haha, charade you are. You well-heeled big wheel, haha, charade you are, charade. This is all the Animal Farm stuff from the album Animals, and his disputes with, I think, Margaret Thatcher and all these different political things that they're saying.
What's the line about the White House in there?
Hey, you White House, haha, charade you are.
Yeah. So the other day I was walking down the street with my son Lennon, and he's like, because he's going to DC for a trip in a couple weeks. He's like, and he goes, guess what, Dad? And I'm like, what? He's like, I'm gonna go down to see the White House. You know what song I'm gonna be thinking of? And he's like, Pigs. Hey, you White House.
No doubt. That's badass, man. Tristan's son is an incredible musician too, and knows a bunch of Pink Floyd tracks.
I gave him one of the copies of Animals. He's like, Dad, do you want my copy of Animals for this podcast? I was like, yeah, I need that.
Well, shout out to Lennon for giving me that copy or letting your dad take it back for a minute.
Okay, getting into the wall. I put it on Another Brick in the Wall. It's probably one of their most overplayed songs out there, but it's still really cool. It's like a dance hit, and plus and I love the intro. Something like that. Yeah, but it's I just love how they use that effect. It's the same thing that they used on One of These Days. It just kind of creates this really cool sort of spacey vibe to it, right? So yeah, and plus the lyrics were, as being, first hearing that song as a kid, you're in school and you hear the song that says, "We don't need no education, we don't need no thought control." It's like, it's amazing.
If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? Yeah, next up, I'm going off of Animals, 1977. The song is Sheep. So Sheep is going to make the Desert Island finale.
Sweet.
Harmlessly passing your time in the grassland away. Only dimly aware of certain unease in the air.
Comfortably Numb. I think that was like one of the first Pink Floyd songs that I actually memorized the lyrics to. Subject to the radio roadkill, but I don't know. It's probably their biggest track, hands down. Like if they're going to do a show, they're not going to. Any one of those guys is going to do a show. They're going to close with it. Yeah, except for Roger Waters opened with it on his last tour. It's up there as far as like the most epic guitar solo of all time.
It's transcendent. Like it takes you to a different place, and you're feeling the emotions of this Pink character, no matter what. And just the imagery through the wording it's so cool. Like, do you know what he's talking about? Stuff like that a lot. Especially I remember being younger and saying, like, oh man, like listen to the lyrics on this one. I remember initially loving, and the live version on Pulse is probably one of the first things you would show somebody if you're trying to introduce them to Pink Floyd. Next on my Desert Island playlist comes off of the Division Bell, What Do You Want From Me? So after post, when it's just the three of them, David Gilmour, Rick, and Nick Mason, you get a real David Gilmour heavy album with Momentary Lapse, but then you get the Division Bell, which is kind of like their jewel, in my opinion, post Roger Waters or post The Wall. So many great tracks. I don't really like, I like 90% of the songs on this album a lot, and they're all basically equal in my mind. They sound great. They're super funky, great lyrics. Anyways, What Do You Want From Me is a standout for me anyways. It's on my Desert Island.
Learning to Fly. We haven't talked about too many tunes on Momentary Lapse of Reason yet, but yeah, that tune is just a good, happy, fun pop song. Like, there's nothing really too dark about that one. It's just like, Pink Floyd's big sort of return with that one.
Next up on my playlist is also from the Division Bell, and it's Keep Talking. For millions of years, mankind lived just like the animals. Then something happened which unleashed the power of our imagination, learned to talk. That's Stephen Hawking sampled at the start of the track there.
I have What Do You Want From Me? Yeah, I love this tune. This is my favorite one off Division Bell for sure. I have a good moment of the two of us listening to Gilmour play this one. I mean, you're like, sweet, what do you want from me? I'm like, yes. Yeah, and it's another one that just sounds amazing live. It's so good.
My last track on my Desert Island playlist for Pink Floyd is also from the Division Bell. There's so many great honorable mentions and stuff. Our playlists are all in the description below. You can check them out there. And there's, honorable mentions and stuff. I'll get Tristan to throw me his honorables too, ones that came close. And but anyways, this one I'm putting on there just because I'm going to give credit to Dave Gilmour's wife for helping Dave write this song. And it's kind of his spit in the face to Roger Waters, but I just fucking love it. Dave, this is like maybe the only song that Dave Gilmour wrote the lyrics to that I really, and he wrote it with help from his wife, fortunately. Lost for Words, the last track off the album, makes my Desert Island playlist. I've always loved this one. Number one, it's a beautiful song. It's, you open your door to your enemy, ask, can you wipe the slate clean? And he tells me to please go fuck myself. You just can't win. But he's sitting there. The theme of the song isn't just about that. It's about harboring like anger and hate and things like that. And it's sort of, as Dave asking himself too, like, what should I just be sitting around here and be caught in a fever of spite? And that I think about that a lot, where people are getting angry with politics, or people are getting angry with anything that they don't believe in or whatever, and they make it their cause to fight people or fight things like that. And you're involved in that sort of hate so much of your life. And it's like, I don't understand why people choose to go down that. It's the reason I would never get involved in politics, is because of that. It's because I just don't want to be on one side of an argument forever for the sake of being on it. And anyways, yeah, this song means a lot to me for a lot of different reasons. I think the lyrics are incredible, and the music as well is very pretty. And you've got Dave on his acoustic guitar, killing, and I love it when Dave plays acoustic guitar. Lost for Words.
Hey You.
Yeah.
And Mother are my final ones. So I'm going to pick Hey You.
It was really close. That's probably the next song on my list as well. I'll double check it later, but I think that actually was the one that was just outside. That's funny.
What I like about it, Yeah, definitely another one of those Pink Floyd tunes that it's kind of like, it's kind of mystique. Um, and I love the same thing. I love the guitar part, that acoustic guitar part of the at the with the intro there, and I love when it goes back into the down 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 down, like it has that the another brick in the wall riff on there, which is kind of a theme for the song, right? Yeah, and there was just an absolute another just a rocker of a guitar solo over top of that heavy riff, right? So yeah, no, it's just been one of my faves.
Well, truth be told, Tristan and I were a little bit tired by the time we hit song 20 because it was actually only song 19. So we had a little text back and forth after I finally figured out what went wrong, and we got to pick two more songs. My last pick was the song One of My Turns from The Wall. I had skipped over it. It was right beside One of These Days. Honestly, one of my very favorite songs from The Wall, so I can't believe I forgot to talk about it, but day after day, love turns gray like the skin on the dying man. Tristan's final pick, his 20th song for his Desert Island playlist, is Mother, also off 1979's The Wall. Also, an additional harpoon is needed to be thrown as well. So Tristan got to throw another harpoon. Tristan got to throw the 11th harpoon, and he used it to eliminate the song Time. So Time will not be coming to the Desert Island Deathmatch final playlist. Now we're going to go through and harpoon some more sitting ducks. There's 10 more harpoons to throw, which will leave us with 11 songs that only one of us picked for our Desert Island playlists. And that will complete our Desert Island Deathmatch final playlist for Pink Floyd. Will round us out at an even 20. The 22 songs that are sitting ducks that we're going to throw some harpoons at here are as follows: Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, Childhood's End, Us and Them, The Great Gig in the Sky, Wish You Were Here, Time, Any Color You Like, Pigs, 3 different ones, Keep Talking, Lost for Words, Nobody's Home, Dogs, Another Brick in the Wall, Comfortably Numb, Learning to Fly, Hey You, Mother, Young Lust, One of My Turns, Fearless, Eclipse, and The Thin Ice. So the first harpoon was thrown and Time was eliminated by Tristan. Let's get back into the Desert Island Deathmatch. Now it's time for the Desert Island Deathmatch, where we're going to be compromising our list, forming one list. Any song that got picked twice is going to make the finale list for the Desert Island Deathmatch finale list. Tristan and I are going to go back and forth, eliminating picks that didn't make the final list, that neither of us picked twice. Tristan, being the youngest, gets to throw the first harpoon. Tristan, go ahead, eliminate one of the songs.
Any Color You Like.
Any Color You Like is gone. First one I'm going to throw is Childhood's End, off of Obscured by Clouds.
Lost for Words.
I'm going to get rid of Dogs. I don't know why. I've always had a fucking problem with that song.
Okay, I'm gonna get rid of Young Lust.
I was actually really surprised that wasn't on your list. Time to Ruin Christmas. I'm taking out Comfortably Numb. I've already heard it enough times for fucking 10 lifetimes. Working on construction job sites, it's played daily. And I mean, it's a great song. It's up there with Stairway and all the greatest songs ever fucking written, ever made, greatest rock songs ever. It's not coming to my fucking Desert Island. I've heard it enough.
I'm gonna go with The Thin Ice. For the record, I do really like Young Lust, but you got rid of Dog. So
It's funny that the final cut never no songs from the final cut on your list, eh?
No.
Interesting. The next one I'm taking out is off of Momentary Lapse for reason I'm getting rid of Learning to Fly.
All right, I'm going to get rid of Keep Talking.
The last harpoon, then, I think, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, what am I going to do here? So I'm happy to keep Great Gig in the Sky. I'm happy to keep Us and Them. Set the controls for the Heart of the Sun. I'm going to take out Set the controls for the Heart of the Sun. And that is it. We have a final list with a ton of Dark Side of the Moon. Thanks again for being on the Desert Island Deathmatch. We have the playlists below in the description. There's 3 there. Tristan's Desert Island playlist, my own, and the final list, the compromise list when we're going to the same island. Vote in the comments below on what your favorite one is with you. There's also links to the playlist there, so you can click on those and listen to all the tracks in a row. Yeah, man. So glad you're on this one, Tris. I was waiting a long time to do.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
I didn't want to screw up Pink Floyd, and my dog's name's Floyd. We're massive Pink Floyd fans. Thank you so much to Pink Floyd for changing our lives, for sure. I'm sorry I'm a little low on facts and high on opinions. Rest in peace to Syd Barrett. Rest in peace to Richard Wright. Guys, like seriously, there's only so many fucking years left. Like, just do it. Just don't even hang out with each other, being like separate like tour buses, you know, you'd be like Joe Perry and Steven Tyler, but just know that you're better together.
Yeah, they can write a record. You do the record remotely now.
Dude, I could care less if one of you is on a video screen or something like that. Just to hear you two perform together or to write a song together would just be unreal. But anyways, thanks for having a reunion, doing what you could, and like I said, you don't owe us shit.
Just thanks for having me. It was super fun. And sort of deciding which tracks were my favorite, and you know, but it's definitely a hard decision to make because there's so many good songs out there. But I think we made a pretty decent playlist where we could hang out on a desert island and you know, drink some margaritas. Fuck, man! I hope you have your guitar. Yeah, because I'll just play the rest on guitar. Thanks so much for bringing some legitimacy to this whole fucking thing too.
Find no comfort in knowing while I stand at the bar listening while pseudo intellects critique my style with a matchbook degree. You tell me things of this world. Think I'm too blind to see the things you say to me. All that I want is a moment. All that I want is you to step back, step back. Before the next goal brings some